Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity, and want to congratulate you for this decisive victory. It's very decisive. Ghanaians have spoken. And I remember when we were endorsing your candidature, they asked us that why is it that when our mom was alive, the late Akua Donkor, she was having some problems with you, and why do we want to come and endorse you? And we told them that it's a political party. It's not a private firm that is for Akua Donkor. So we went around, spoke to our members, and the decision was that we should support the candidature of His Excellency John Mahama. That's why we did so, and we were so happy that we were not put to shame, because we knew you were going to win very decisively. Looking at this, the abysmal performance of this government for the past 8 years, you see, when your time comes, this
election wasn't an easy one. It was an election where everybody was thinking, are we going to have a peaceful election or not? So we were all on standby, praying to have a perfect, transparent, and a peaceful one. Like I said in one of the IPAC meetings, elections are not won by the EC. Elections are won at the polling stations. And if you are very vigilant at the polling station, that is where you can get your victory. If you're not, you won't see your victory. You have to win with huge margin, and nobody can dispute the fact that you have won. Not even the Electoral Commissioner can dispute that fact. And I have been vindicated with that statement. Actually,
Whenever I say my PENDREAM TV there, I see them,
yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity, and want to congratulate you for this decisive victory. It's very decisive. Ghanaians have spoken. And I remember when we were endorsing your candidature, they asked us that why is it that when our mom was alive, the late Akua Donkor, she was having some problems with you, and why do we want to come and endorse you? And we told them that it's a political party. It's not a private firm that is for Akua Donkor. So we went around, spoke to our members, and the decision was that we should support the candidature of His Excellency John Mahama. That's why we did so, and we were so happy that we were not put to shame, because we knew you were going to win very decisively. Looking at this, the abysmal performance of this government for the past 8 years, you see, when your time comes, it has come. Everybody saw what happened in 2020 when you were stolen, real stolen verdict. In 2024, they were disgraced. And I remember that, this one, I'm very sorry to say that, but somebody said we had a president who lost by close to 1 million. And God has made you win by close to 2 million votes, which means you've even cancelled that. You have made record, a very great record, and we thank God for that. So nobody can even say that you lost by 1. No, you've cancelled that record, and now H.E. Baumia is now carrying that shame on his head. Yes. Yes, as we pray that God should help you, because the whole country, everybody in the country is looking up to you. And we know our Father will never disappoint, because we are always liaising with the winning team, and we know you're a winner. God should help you to win. Thank you very much.
Thank you. After the declaration, I got some requests from several of, for want of a better word, let me say the smaller parties.
The minority parties.
Minority parties, yeah. That it sounds like that. Minority parties, yeah, to pay congratulatory visits. Unfortunately, shortly after the declaration, I wasn't feeling too well, and so it was not possible for us to do it earlier. By the grace of God, I'm feeling much better, and we therefore decided to schedule today, to receive you. I'm sure some of the other parties did not get the message on time, and so maybe we'll schedule another time and receive them too. But I want to thank you for your congratulatory messages, and to thank you for a successful election, because all of us were stakeholders in this election, and all of us are parts of the Inter-Party Advisory Committee that works with the Electoral Commission to be able to ensure that the electoral processes are transparent, free, and fair. And so no role is too small, and the consensus that we built after the NDC came back into IPAC has paid off in terms of this election that we've had. And so we must congratulate each other for a successful election. The election was not perfect, even though it was successful and peaceful. And like he just said, he says you must win the election emphatically so that there's no cause for dispute. You know, I put it in a different way. I said I was going to go like Azuma Nelson with my own referee into the ring. And when Azuma was asked who his referee was, he said his punches, he will knock out his opponent, and so no referee can determine that the opponent who is on the ground won the election. And I think that's exactly what happened. We virtually knocked out our opponents, and so the Electoral Commission had no option but to declare us the victors in the election. We take this with a huge sense of humility and modesty, and we believe that it's a huge responsibility that the people of Ghana have put on us. And as I said yesterday, and as Nkrumah said in one of his speeches, I cannot quote exactly what he said, but he said the people of Ghana might appear docile and peaceful and slow to anger, but when the time comes and they strike, I mean, they really, I've forgotten how he said it, but in democratic parlance, they have shown that when they have had enough, they really would come out and make their sentiments felt. And that is exactly what has happened. And so, like I said yesterday, it's a lesson to the whole political elite. Probably this administration is our last chance to get things right, because as has been shown by the different Afrobarometer reports and other surveys, the confidence especially of our youth, the faith of our youth especially in our democratic institutions is waning. Yeah, and anecdotally, even if you spoke to many of them, they said, oh, they don't see the need to vote because it's not opening up opportunities for them, and so they don't see why every 4 years they must be called to vote. And so this administration bears a responsibility on behalf of all the other political parties and other stakeholders in our politics to make a good job of it and begin the reset. That's why we call it a reset. We must reset our democracy. We must reset our governance. We must reset our economic management so that our people can benefit from the dividends of democracy. And so this administration bears the responsibility on all your behalves to make sure that we get it right so that we can continue to be relevant stakeholders in Ghana's politics. And as he said, if we don't do that, we're not immune from, unconstitutional interventions like we have seen in our neighboring countries. And so I send a caution to all who want to serve in government and will be called upon to carry out some responsibility of public trust, to do so diligently, knowing that the public is whom they serve and that they don't lord it over the public. The outgoing government has been punished for their arrogance, for their impunity, for mismanagement, for corruption, and it's not like the red flag was not waved. People, all manner of people try to get through to them that things were not going well, but they won't listen. And that's why I said yesterday that they believe that power is from themselves and not that power is from the people. Now the people have shown that, yeah, we really hold the power and we give it to who we want. And so that must be a lesson to all of us, that the people are the ultimate owners of power and that they will give it as they want to whoever they please. And so the mandate they've given us, I don't take lightly. I take it very seriously. And for me, like I told the apostolic fathers who just left here, for me it's about legacy. 4 years, establish a legacy of resetting our nation, good governance, create a platform for the next generation to take it away. And for me, that is the focus. And like I said, we might take decisions that are unpleasant because you must, to reform the country from where it is, we need some bold measures. And some of those measures might be severe and unpleasant, but people should understand that it's being taken in the best interest of the country. And when you are sick, sometimes you have to take very bitter medicine to be able to get well. I mean, if you want to take only the sweet medicines, you won't get well. And so we need to brace ourselves for some inconvenience, but it will all be in the national interest to be able to make things happen. Like I said, the election was not perfect, but the difference this time was our party took advantage of the instruments that the electoral process gives us to police the election. And we did that effectively this time. And so training our polling agents better, making sure about the quality of people we sent to each polling station, putting in our collation system to make sure that we collated our results on time, and putting in a transmission system that made sure that by 11 that night, we knew overwhelmingly that we had won, because we had received 37,000 of our polling station results. And so we knew by 11 o'clock that we had won by 56 point something percent. So I think that even though the electoral process is not perfect, there's a responsibility on political parties to make sure that we use the levers that the election gives us to be able to police the poll. But we must also do a postmortem and see what went wrong. There are still issues of ballot paper printing and ballot paper stuffing, because in many cases we found people with EC ballot papers, genuine ballot papers. And the question is, we must investigate, how do they get these ballot papers? Who prints them for them? Who gives these ballot papers to these people? How do they get the plate of the Electoral Commission to be able to print ballot papers? We believe in local capacity to print, but if we're going to print and always have a situation where duplicates of the ballot papers leak and give the people the opportunity to stuff the ballot, then we might look at printing those ballot papers outside and bringing them. So until we solve that, the security printers must come together and make sure that if they don't want to lose business, then this thing must stop, because it undermines the electoral process. Aside from that, we must get the issue of pink sheets right. You know, how we can all fill the same pink sheets at the polling station, and then we come to collation center, and then the party is holding a different pink sheet, electoral commission is holding different pink sheets. It shouldn't happen. And so in a few cases, it still means that some of the electoral officers, are willing to be induced to be able to switch pink sheets or alter figures and all that. There's a case where alternate pink sheets came from Electoral Commission, and instead of being the other duplicate, they were not carbonated, written in pen. These are all things that we need to look at and see how we can correct the electoral process so that tomorrow it does not create a problem for us. I just want to say that we will work together. We are open to suggestions and to any opinions that you might have. In terms of governance, my door will be open to all the minority parties. If there are any issues that you think that government should address, you are, welcome to suggest them. As I said, Boko is going to be one of the major issues we confront. We had managed to maintain the peace in Boko until this government came along, and some security lapses led to what has happened. And so one of the things we're going to do is to look at that as quickly as possible. Luckily, this morning I got my first security briefing, and you can be sure that Boko was one of the issues that came up. And so it's something we're going to tackle and look at how we can calm the issues, because Boko is particularly sensitive because of the external terrorist threat. Because if you look at the theater where this terrorist threat is taking place, it's just across our border from Boko. And if there will be any likely incursion, the unstable nature in the Boko area will create a fertile ground for penetration. And so as quickly as possible, we must try and resolve the issue in Boko. And I do think that it's something that we can get the understanding of the two groups to realize that we are all one people, and we must learn to live together in peace. Nobody benefits from conflict. Mamprose businesses have been affected. Kusal Society businesses have been affected. And so people want peace so that they can go about their businesses and earn their livelihoods. And so that's something that you're sure we would look at. With Ghana Freedom Party, I give you my condolences again for the passing of my mother. You know how close I was to her. Unfortunately, I mean, that is life. I mean, things happen, and sometimes disagreements occur. And so somehow we parted ways, and she went to support my opponents. But I don't begrudge anybody. If you know me, I'm not a person who holds grudges against people. And so I'm happy that her party has survived her. And I think that in her memory, you must continue to strengthen the structures of the party so that it can continue to be a testimony, you know, to what she's been able to do, considering her level of education and advocacy and participation in our politics. You owe it to her to maintain the party and be able to continue to institutionalize her memory. So I'll just leave it there.
The battle is over, and we want to thank His Excellency President-elect for giving us the opportunity to come say congratulations message to him and to the team that have fought to give us everybody a peaceful election and a successful one. As a matter of fact, this election wasn't an easy one. It was an election where everybody was thinking, are we going to have a peaceful election or not? So we were all on standby praying to have a perfect, transparent, and a peaceful one. Like I said in one of the IPAC meetings, elections are not won by the EC. Elections are won at the polling stations. And if you are very vigilant at the polling station, that is where you can get your victory. If you're not, you won't see your victory. You have to win with huge margin, and nobody can dispute the fact that you have won. Not even the Electoral Commissioner can dispute that fact. And I have been vindicated with that statement. Actually, we in the APC believe that President Mahama has been given another opportunity to be president. That opportunity was given by majority of the Ghanaians because they think that the previous government or the current government did not do much, and they wanted a change that will carry everybody along, not just members of the NPP or NDC or any other party, just every Ghanaian was fighting for change, and that change has been effected. And the only way you can change people is when you involve them in the process of change, and the change will be effected. So for us, we have all seen what happened in the last previous government. History has repeated itself 3 times. In 2008, the NDC against the NPP, you saw what happened. Majority of the NDC people did not come out, and the NPP people did not come out, and NDC won. In 2016, it repeated itself again. Majority of the NDC people did not come out, and then NPP won. Today, 2024, history has repeated itself again. What it means is that there has been some break between leadership and grassroots over the period, every party. And we have to take this clue, this example, and this precedence to know that the 2024 elections was not won just by the campaign of the NDC alone, but by the displeasure of many Ghanaians who did not see leadership from the NPP. And they have given the NDC a new life. So you today, as President Mahama, you are the future today, and you are the present today and the future tomorrow. Your leadership this time round would determine whether the majority political parties are going to have a say in next coming, or we are going to run back to a military regime. If you perform well, Ghana will move on with democracy. If you don't, then military will rather come in and say, look, we don't even trust these political parties anymore. Because if you look at the election this time, the voter apathy has gone up. Huge. Huge. Many Ghanaians didn't want to vote again. They are not interested in politics anymore. And I said one thing in the middle of my campaign. I said the election is going to be determined by two factors. Factor number one, the die-hard members of NDC against the die-hard members of NPP. And whichever party comes out with the majority will win. And factor number two, Ghanaians deciding that they want a third force. And so we are not going to vote for NDC and NPP, and we'll go to a second round and elect a new leader. But the first one came. So for me to you, Mr. President, is that we are all in your hands. Ghanaians are going to watch you your first 3 months. Your first 3 months will determine the future of this country. How you run your first 3 months will be what Ghanaians will be looking up to see whether there will be a change in anything or there won't be a change at all. So mine is for you to concentrate first on your first 3 months. Very key. What policy alternatives are you bringing to convince Ghanaians in your first 3 months? And secondly, I will also advise that from now to your first 3 months, that at least Ghanaians need a change of mindset. They want to see a leader they can follow, they can relate with, they listen to, a leader that is transparent, sincere, and honest. If you look at the current government, you realize that they've stopped the State of the Nation address. They don't even talk about the State of the Nation address anymore. So if you can concentrate on that for the first 3 months, that at least every month you come out to tell Ghanaians the state of the nation and what you intend to do for the next 3 months. So this month you come out and tell us, this is where we are, this is where we need to get to. This will allow Ghanaians to have hope and trust and confidence in your leadership. And when they do, I'm sure you will carry the future, the present and the future.
Thank you very much for this visit. I remember fondly our interaction with you, and I think that it was a very good meeting. It helped us to fine-tune and tweak some of the things that we had intended to put in our manifesto, and I do think that we captured a lot of the nuances that we picked from that meeting. I want to sympathize with you for the last 8 years. I mean, things have not really gone the way we would have expected. Ghana, which was easily the best destination for investment, suddenly has become, not actually the best anymore, but we've dropped several paces down. I mean, anybody wanting to come and set up a business would rather go to Benin or Cote d'Ivoire than come to Ghana today. And it's a call for us to act and bring our nation back as the favorite destination for investment. You can tell from our FDI figures, they've dropped sharply to 1-point-something billion. We're hardly able to attain a little above 1 billion. And when we used to get 3.5 billion, easy FDI into the country every year. And so it's not only foreign direct investment that is suffering, but indigenous Ghanaian businesses are also suffering. I think that this government made many critical mistakes, and many of them, I'll say, were parochial, because if they had allowed a little more transparency and had opened a more listening ear, they probably would not have made some of the fatal mistakes that they made. And so that serves as a lesson to the incoming government to make sure that we have an open ear and a transparent manner of approaching things, so that we can carry everybody along with us. And so it's something that I promised before, that we will consult with the captains of industry and business regularly, so that we know what your concerns are, and then we'll address those concerns together. If I were president, I would not have rushed to close those, indigenous banks. I would have found a way of assisting them to survive. We probably would not have borrowed as rapidly as was done and sink ourselves into a debt hole. And so, but these are mistakes that have been made, that we must use as lessons, for the future. And so we intend to carry out some reforms in terms of economic management to ensure that another finance minister doesn't come along who's a law unto himself And that's some of the things that this person has done to create the problem that we have. One will be the debt management office. Upgrade the debt management office to a more independent office that is transparent, that is informing Ghanaians about what our debt position is at any time, so that the finance minister on his own cannot just keep piling on the debts without, like there's no tomorrow. So that's one. Holding the National Economic Dialogue, which we did before Senchi Forum, and we expect that you play a very active part in it. We want to, as quickly as we take over, understand what the state of the economy is and let you know what the issues are. And then together, we'll discuss the issues of fiscal reform and fiscal consolidation together, so that when we are taking the steps, we all know that this is how to go. As part of that will be the tax reform that you're talking about. We promised it, we said tax rationalization, because today compliance is low and the taxes are so distorted. You have people in the same market paying different levels of value-added tax. It doesn't make for an environment for compliance to take place. And so how do we rationalize it instead of just piling on more taxes? And we started that discussion with the IMF. You know, they say, well, it's not about the taxes you introduce. For us, it's revenue to GDP. And so however you raise that revenue is your matter. But I'm saying that if we rationalize the taxes, make them more transparent, more fair, there'll be more compliance. And when there's more compliance, there'll be more revenue. But if we slap emissions tax, then also they want VAT on electricity, and so on and so forth, we'll get to a time when we are killing the economy because businesses will collapse. And you have a situation where, you know, all these young people who are looking for jobs become a national security issue. And so we are beginning to have that discussion on the basis of partnership, not that we want to jettison the IMF program, like I've said, but to look within the program and see how we can together optimize revenue at a pace that is acceptable, and at the same time carrying out the reforms that are needed. We have the debt situation. I think that the debt exchange was not thoroughly negotiated, but we're not sitting at the table when it was done. And they themselves realize now that there are humps that are going to be difficult to deal with if we don't find a way of smoothing the curve. Because, I mean, in 2026, we're expected to pay 182 billion CDs. I mean, what's the total budget of government of Ghana? It's less than 200 billion. And so it means the whole budget will go to pay, you know, debt in 2026. I mean, if we default again, it will even be more catastrophic. So we must, as quickly as possible, be talking about how we can deal with those humps. So those are issues that we are discussing with them. The issue Mr. Otinjesi raised is important, especially with the energy sector. It is the Achilles heel of everything that we're doing. It can completely derail everything that we have done with the IMF program and with the debt exchange. The debt keeps piling. The IPPs remain unpaid. We owe on gas. ECG is sick, is the sick man of the whole value chain. 32% commercial and technical losses. There's no utility anywhere in the world that will survive with those kind of losses. And so the energy sector needs urgent surgery if it is to survive. And so we're going to make sure that our energy ministry is taking very drastic measures to make sure that we get the energy sector back on a sustainable footing. And so that's something that we must look at. The other non-tax revenue drivers that bring in significant revenues are all down. The oil and gas sector hounded out all the upstream players. Some of them ran to Cote d'Ivoire and other places. There's been no significant, work in our oil and gas prospects over the last 8 years. But by this time we should have brought on stream more oil and gas so that we can cover more of our gas needs and stop depending on light crude oil, which will bring down the cost of power, and also be able to increase our revenues from non-tax sources. And Unfortunately, that hasn't happened. And so, as much as possible, getting all the key players in that sector, and if I have to hug them and roll out the red carpet for them to come back and pump that gas and oil like there's no tomorrow, is something that I'm willing to do. Cocoa industry that easily used to bring some $2 billion every year into the economy is struggling today. And so how we address reforms in that sector as quickly as possible to put the farmer at the center of the industry and make him the biggest beneficiary of the revenue from cocoa instead of those sitting in the headquarters will be something that we must look at as quickly as possible. But like Mr. Mahesh said, how we incentivize Ghanaian business to be able to rise to the occasion is, for me, critical. We've signed the African Continental Free Trade Area. We've already had the ETLS that has been there for decades. You know, how do we take advantage of all these opportunities to increase productivity, both for the local market and for export? And that's why I said I'll personally chair an accelerated export development program. And we would have representatives from all of you on that program to see how we can take out all the export bottlenecks so that Ghanaian business is competitive in terms of exporting, not only into the African market, but also into the other external markets that we have. And so these are all important things that we must look at. We also want to look at how we can use government's financial muscle to help made in Ghana goods, that is, industries producing in Ghana. Ghana is the biggest spender in the economy. Government is the biggest spender in the economy. I mean, why we will always easily run to go and import things from China and other places when we have even better quality of those goods locally, I cannot understand. And so for me, it's not if. We must get all the goods that are made in Ghana. We must fix competitive prices. And we must give a caveat that if you want to buy cooking oil, you must buy these brands. You have no option to buy any other brand. Once we know what the prices are, then we know that they can, you know, concentrate on buying made in Ghana instead of buying it from outside. Even if it's marginally more expensive, it creates jobs locally than buying it cheaper and creating jobs in another country. And so we're going to sit with you and see how we can tweak that procurement law so that the first priority for buying any product with government money must be a product that is made in Ghana. It's only if it's not available and you have no option that we can look at external goods to purchase. We believe that we should continue the innovative financing model that we brought up. Because we cannot go on to the international capital market, we must look more at BOTs and other such innovative financing where people bring in their investment and put the infrastructure in, run it for 20, 30 years, and after that transfer, when they would have made their investment, we need to do the railways, we need to fix the roads and the highways and all that, and many other, you know, infrastructure developments that we need to do. I believe that we can get people who have the investment, if we do proper feasibility studies, to come and put in the infrastructure and run it and hand over to us at the appropriate time. Everybody knows that agriculture and agribusiness is my passion. And of course, I'm into agriculture myself, so I'm conflicted there. You know, the price of soya, the price of yellow maize and all that affects my bottom line, my pocket directly. Right now I'm harvesting my maize and my soya. And so for me, like any farmer, I feel what the farmers go through. I buy fertilizer, I buy agricultural inputs. And so you can be sure that anything I do for farmers, I'm doing for myself. And like I said, the missing link in our whole agricultural value chain has been agro-processing and agribusiness. And that is the way to go. We encourage the farmers to produce, we give them subsidized fertilizer, we give them inputs. We're going to give them mechanization support with the farmer service centers. But after they've produced, you leave them to the vagaries of the market. And the middlemen come and offer them any price and take the product. And the farmer is not able to recoup his investment. So the next season, he probably cannot raise the capital to be able to farm again. And so how we protect the farmer in respect of marketing his produce and making sure he gets a fair price it's one of the things we'll be addressing our minds to. But I'll talk to you as AGI to look at how we can increase agro-processing capacity. We have the cassava. We shouldn't wait for Chinese to come and set up cassava processing plants. I mean, the Ghanaians who have the investment to set up cassava processing plants. We can process our own soya bean. We can process all that. We don't need people to come from Asia to come and buy the soya bean and process it for us. So how we can challenge our business people to not only produce pure water, mineral water, and open FM stations and things, but to move out into other areas that are profitable, and we have this mindset that business is only for Indians and Lebanese and things. So when you take your money and you're going to open a factory, now could be a factory. That's a factory. The Lebanese in India for maybe, How do we change that mindset? And so AGI, your advocacy must look to see how you bring people who are into trading and commerce to enamored with trading and commerce. The service industry is there, huge area for investment. Digitalization is there. And I talk about digitalization that is impactful. Not that any app, we just get up and anybody is developing an app and we're chasing it. It must be something that makes a real difference in terms of our productivity and in terms of our life. So digitalization that is impactful and leads to major, changes in the way our people live is what I'll be looking at. My final word will be on my sister's FC Perfume's Women's Empowerment. Empower a woman, you empower a family. Empower a man, you empower an individual. I'm just paraphrasing Agri's words with regards to education. It's the same with economic empowerment, that if you empower a woman, she brings the money back into the house and looks after the children and even looks after her husband. Yeah, but all the things that you spoke about, the apprenticeship, vocational training, and technical education, the National Apprenticeship Program, the Women's Bank, is to give targeted assistance to women's businesses, small and medium enterprises, not large scale, small and medium enterprise women's businesses, to be able to get them capital at a cheaper rate without them getting into all the susu and loan sharks and all that. So that is something that we'll be working on. And Nana, as our first female vice president, is going to be more engaged with that. So that will be within her domain, and whoever the finance minister is in setting up that financial institution. And so these are the few words I thought that I should speak. But like I said, I promise that we'll consult regularly, especially in the implementation of our 24-hour economy policy. We want to see how as many Ghanaian businesses as possible, can join that policy, increase productivity, not only for the Ghanaian market. People look at the Ghanaian market and say, it's small, and so it cannot sustain 24. But the opportunities are also out there. We have a market of 1.3 billion people in Africa, and we have a comparative advantage than other countries to produce certain items. And so we'll need your support and all the opinions you have. In Twi, we say, Etikronko Ejina. All those ideas are not in one person's head. And so consulting you regularly and getting what your ideas are for improving the business environment is something that I am very open to do. I'll have an open door for AGI, Chamber of Commerce, all of you. And as early as we finish the swearing in, I want to sit with all of you, even as we are preparing for the National Economics Dialogue and all that, to begin to get some ideas from you before we go into the forum, so that we walk this journey together. As I said with the last group, this is our last chance to get things right. This administration probably is the last to get things right, or else we're not immune to coup d'etats. Ghanaians are losing faith in our democracy. If the political elite, like I said yesterday, don't get their act together, then it could result in something that we all don't wish to happen. But we should remember that we need to work to keep our democracy relevant and keep the faith of our people in our democracy. Thank you.
online portal Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV. I see a lot of people are moving from the traditional media to the social media. And PENDREAM, you are setting the pace because you bring the issues as they are. And the focus on those are the issues. And then Unipa are not ready for just ordinary endorsement. But people want to hear the issues. What are the issues? What are the possible solutions? So for me, I'm endorsing PENDREAM TV. And I'm recommending, say, Obi Biana who feel it's traditional media and why you're bored with it, I'm going to live up to expectation. Your next last stop, PENDREAM TV.